License to play, behind the curtain of international gaming structures.
Super. So this is the not the last, but not the ultimate, but one of the last panels of the day. And we're speaking today about international compliance management. And compliance becomes more and more difficult. And we just were speaking about it that now you have a big compendium of different license requirements in your company to comply with. So because we are short in time, I would like to introduce and ask the panelists to introduce themselves quickly. And we start already with the first question. In the last years, most of the European and a lot of the international jurisdictions introduced new regulations. This year, Italy, for example, introduced requirements that the applicants need to comply and be certified after 5 different ISO standards. So it's really difficult to be compliant in various jurisdictions as an operator. So my question is to all of you, how do you manage the maintenance of compliance with the new and existing regulations? So please.
Okay, thank you. So I will start with a quick introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm thrilled to be here in this panel discussion. I'm Sona from iGaming, one of the leading iGaming operators. iGaming was founded in 2004 in Armenia, and being licensed in 2024, now it's rapidly expanding in the Romanian market. I would like to mention 3 key challenges for the compliance management. The first challenge is the implementation readiness gap. So, for example, the regulators are passing the law. The market participants that are strictly notified about the changes and are affected of these changes. And when it comes to the action, it becomes obvious that there is no detailed official methodology for implementation, or even some supporting institutions are not fully formed yet. So basically, the alignment between the practical implementation and the legislation is essential for the compliance to be smooth and consistent. The second challenge that I would like to mention is a swift rollout with limited consultations. You are having some emergency ordinances, and urgent regulatory changes are necessary to address some questions, but when they are coming with limited consultations, this may raise implementation and practical issues. So it's like releasing a software patch without proper testing. Of course, you will address some urgent problems, but you will have some more complications and risks in the future. So basically, those short consultations and even after implementations are essential for the compliance to be smooth. And the third one, the last but not least, is the significant cost pressure. So high taxes, compliance costs, and license fees, they are leading to the rise of the illicit market. So basically, the taxes, when are high, the operators are having some issues to comply, for their budgeting. For example, they are shrinking their operational budgets. And in this case, there can be a dangerous trend for them to include also reduction of the investment in the AML monitoring or verification tools. So it will be very, very efficient if the changes in the tax regimes and compliance regulations take into account of incentivizing for the operators to strengthen these tools and to use them to make sure that the player's safety is on the top priority.
Thank you. I think if you know the regulation, when the Netherlands started with the new regulation, you know that the requirements were really vague. So it was really difficult to actually prepare a proper application, and the regulator was not responsive at all. We sent in several good practice approaches from other regulations, and they said no. But then we were asking why, and they said we are not the consultants of the industry. So it was not easy. And Germany is a perfect example that in Germany the profitability is affected massively by the compliance costs. So there are tax, there are restrictions on the product, and on top there are very high costs to be compliant, like there is a requirement to perform a KYC check every year with every active player. So and the cost for this, if you think, is maybe 10 to 15 euro, including the internal cost. This is affecting the profitability.
Yeah. And
Sorry, please.
And to break some data for supporting, for example, in 2024, the American Gaming Association estimated that they have lost in tax revenue of around $15 billion because like the illegal market accounted for nearly 32% of the total gaming industry in the US.
Thank you. Marcin, your turn.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marcin Jabłoński. Today I represent CrashLab, a software development company, and I head up the commercial department over there. Prior to that, I worked over 15 years, mainly on the operator side, through all verticals from poker to via sportsbook to casino. So my perspective on compliance is that I come from the world where I built and scaled up the businesses where every licensing decision was translated directly to the business. I'm at the same time a winner and a victim of many legal authorities. So hopefully we will have a chance today to speak a bit about that vision and that two worlds that I combine.
Thank you. Joseph.
Hi, Joe Attard, International Compliance Director of Entain. At Entain, we have over 50 licenses, and each and every license has its own regulation. And I don't, if that is not a challenge, I don't know what is. That entails obviously specialization, specialized teams, compartmentalization within your own platform, a lot of ring fencing, a lot of local expertise, a lot of local law firms as well. We too have recently got the Brazilian license. So again, we are talking now even about complications away from Europe, different time zones, and obviously all of this is increasing the complexity of our work. It requires us to increase additional headcounts, additional resources, additional expertise as well. And as you all know, regulations come in different shades. There's responsible gaming, there's anti-money laundering, technical standards, data protection, so on and so forth. So again, even that in itself requires specialization. So obviously it's becoming more complex. I think there is also an opportunity. Now that everyone is regulating, I think we can start thinking about the concept of harmonization. It may be a utopia at this point in time, but I think the more countries regulate, the more that becomes a bit of a reality. I think another aspect that we cannot ignore as well is that more countries and markets regulate, the more there is that aspect of the black market. We cannot oversee the black market. The black market is still very much alive. It's still very much thriving, especially in certain jurisdictions which are a bit more draconian than others, I mean, statistics speaks for themselves. The black market in itself is not dying. It's actually flourishing in certain countries. So a lot to discuss, but obviously those are just my general observations about the topic.
Can I ask you a question, how you organize compliance in your team? Do you have specialists in areas like AML and data protection, or do you organize it by jurisdiction so that you have specialists for the Brazilian market or other jurisdictions?
It's both. So you need specialization per topic and specialization within each country. It's not just a matter of adhering to the regulations, but even there's a cultural aspect. Like doing things in Brazil is not the same thing doing in Europe. Like in Brazil, the regulator would speak to you with a WhatsApp, which is unheard of in Europe, right? It's not something that you would see. No, but that's the reality, and that's how things are done over there. And you need to adapt to these kind of cultural differences as well, obviously.
There's an ISO standard for compliance management, ISO 37301, Are you using a standard, an ISO standard or a framework to organize compliance?
We do. We have been doing that because it helps us. It helps us standardize, obviously. But obviously, for the younger, more medium-sized companies, I can appreciate that becomes a high cost, obviously. It requires specialization as well. I mean, for every standard you've mentioned, there needs to be proper specialization as well. And we cannot oversee the costs of these kinds. So obviously, compliance costs are skyrocketing. We appreciate that governance is becoming a key factor in our sector, but we cannot oversee, we cannot obviously ignore the fact that these are increasing costs significantly, especially for the new entrants and the new startups.
Thank you. So Mauricio, you will give us a different aspect, different view to compliance.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm the CEO of Global Lab. We are a new testing lab. We are specialized in certification and audit. We are present, we are based in Malta. We have a branch in Brazil, in Rio, big branch in there because we are starting the VLT certification. And we also have another branch in South Africa. And we are certifying more than 50 countries around the world. Compliance for us is the base of our activity. It's not easy also for us because what you see from your side is exactly the same from our side. Our responsibility is to be fair, and we also have another aspect to follow, that is the understanding the regulation. Sometimes regulations are not clear, are not complete, and we are working on these. But we already know that, and that's something that also the operator, aggregator, provider should think about this, that when the regulations are starting, for sure they will have an impact in the future. So having the compliance team is a perfect way to follow these standards. In our company, we have the compliance department, obviously, like you. But in our case, is because we are working with the regulators, sometimes we need to helping them to understand some specific point that in the regulation are not present. So we are trying to helping them to modify, in some cases, the regulation to helping the operator and provider.
So maybe a conclusion of this question is that you both are saying that the requirements are not clear, not from the operator, not from the testing lab side, that the requirements are very complex, different to understand, and makes the life of the compliance departments quite hard to comply with so diverse, different requirements in the jurisdictions.
Yes.
So maybe then we have a couple of minutes left, so I can come to my second question. So at the 2nd of August, the next stage of the EU AI Act came into force. Now high-risk profiling, for example, high-risk usage of AI needs to be assessed. And you see AI now everywhere in compliance departments and also in the normal business. How are you using AI, or if not, why not in your compliance work?
AI is actually transforming the industry and with a great pace. So it's a double-edged sword because it gives opportunities and also raises some threats. As an opportunity, you are using AI, it enhances fraud detection, transaction monitoring. It allows you to give like personalized experience, tailored games, or even some offers to the players. But on the other side, the players are also using AI. So currently, we are seeing some AI-modified, even AI-generated ID documents. We are seeing some deep fake selfies, voice clones, and they are tracking the verification systems and even sometimes are passing the real-time liveliness check. So this is really a big threat for the company from the compliance perspective. And for some jurisdictions where there is no possibility to integrate to the state registries, there is a threat of reducing the effectiveness for protecting the underage gambling. Because like the data that you are receiving and verifying can be AI modified, and you are merely like relying on the tools that you are using to identify everything. So basically, yes, AI is good, but we need more collaboration together with the regulators, with the market participants, to make sure that we are using AI effectively and the compliance is on the good-to-go way.
I can totally confirm that at the moment there is a massive wave of fraud ID cards, fraud ID cards, which can be generated within seconds. There are websites like forceid.com outside, where you can generate with a couple of clicks an ID document, which is really hard to be recognized automatically by the KYC providers. So that's a real threat also for our requirements to be compliant with the AML. Marcin, how are you using AI in your
So
organization?
obviously we are being enforced also to this dark side of the AI, one of which will be obviously people losing jobs too. But what we're using as a software development company is like help operators to make their processes more efficient. What you do normally manually, it's like possible now at larger scale. What I personally specialize at is like normally the player acquisition tools, but with regards to the compliance, it's the RG tools, which I think is a great feature for many operators to speed up the fraudulent, not only fraudulent, but suspicious behavior or also irregular player behavior, and helps you properly score it. The problem and the challenge, obviously, with this aspect is that the best scoring system doesn't give you the definition of what you want to translate it into. So therefore, I see a huge potential in cooperation between the humankind and the AI, because we need to prompt the definition. But AI gives us the possibility for at least the outcome that either we would have not extracted ourselves before because of the limitations of the human brain and the time, but now we have it. Now we just need to classify it and help classify it. So in future, potentially, AI will be also able to execute some actions, but that is maybe not for today's conversation.
So we have 2 minutes left, 1 minute
I'll make it
for
quick.
each of
So
you.
I think AI in our sector is not a novelty. We've been using AI for many years. Obviously not the mainstream LLMs that we're all seeing today, but we've been using AI for transaction monitoring for many years. So for both anti-money laundering and responsible gaming. Like Sona said, obviously the players are using it now, so we are seeing a lot of fake profiles, fake documentation, which are very, very difficult to identify. So we are using AI to catch AI fraud, if you like. So the other thing that is happening, that in my experience is happening, is that now everyone is using AI for compliance as well. So I get the commercial people telling me, hang on a minute, but the regulation in Spain doesn't really say that because, I've used GPT. And that's the risk of it, right? Because ultimately you still need that human acumen behind the artificial intelligence, especially in our topic of regulation. It's not just about the laws and regulations, but it's also about the regulatory concept that we have experienced throughout the years.
Mauricio, quick answer.
Okay, my prospect is totally different because we don't use internally, because as an ISO certified company, we need to make a double check for everything. And even if we use AI system, we need to make a double check of AI outsource. So the point is that we don't use definitely internally. When we certify company, the point is that sometimes we found issues also for the AI system. because they are not totally correct. So we need to respect the compliance and the checklist. So if they are not compliant with the checklist, for us, could be AI or human, but it's not compliant. So for us, at the moment, is something that we taking care very careful, because sometimes the client expects that because they have the AI system done, everything is fine, but it's not totally correct. So that's why we make a double check also in the system with the AI system inside.
Oh, thank you. So maybe to conclusion, AI will enter also the compliance space. It will support us with preparation of reports, documents, and so on. But there's also a threat that we cannot comply with the AML or RG requirements, for example, because of fraudulent KYC behavior. Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.